Let's talk some more about inferior mirages. Following on from the video titled The Inferior Mirage Atmospheric Blocking Flat Earth, I have been looking back and comparing data that backs up the claims I made in that video. Throughout the year, I have referenced fake waves and hidden behind the atmosphere many times, and now I can back this up with some more compelling video evidence. Luckily, I am a creature of habit, and have been returning to the same location almost daily for the past 7 months. I haven't always filmed. Typically, the weather will be windy, overcast, raining, and on many occasions, even the hills in the Lake District or Wales are completely hidden. Other times we see very obvious blockage of the buildings in Barrow. And the question is always the same. What causes this? You see, when the weather is settled and there is little to no weather distortion, we see a very long way. In fact, we see shore to shore. I have taken many impossible on-the-ball images and videos, and I'm always met with the same response from the globe believers: looming refraction. I take great offense to this for several reasons, but most importantly this one. The mountains behind the building do not show any signs of a cutoff where the loom meets the real world. You see, refraction is only supposed to happen in the area where there is a medium change great enough to affect the light, typically right above the water. When this gradient stabilizes, you would see a very distinct layer where loom meets the real world, unless you are saying the entire mountain is loomed up in perfect symmetry as well. Which would then beg the question, why is the water not loomed up too? Well, of course, we all know this is nonsense. Yes, a beam of light can be manipulated to change direction. But show me billions of beams of light all changing direction at 7.6R and appearing crisp and clear as a full image, with no distortion and visible for hours and hours with no shimmering. You won't, because this has never been evidenced anywhere in any observation. No matter how many times the globalists may want it to be true, it simply is not. So understanding the causes behind the photography is where I put my energies, and is where my research has brought me up until this point. Let's take a look at some looming and apparent great proofs of the ball. Take a look at the red line and you will see a clear inferior mirage. The top of the building has an inverse mirror image of itself below, and if I change my elevation height, the amount of mirage is either decreased or increased dependent on the angle I view it at. The globers will, and have said many times, the mirage layer is the curve of the Earth. That is where the curve takes effect, and we don't see the bottom of the building because it is behind a wall of water. There we have it. End of story. Debate is over. Or is it? It is my contention that the inferior mirage is actually the atmosphere above the water acting as a mirror, and in fact, this atmosphere is hiding the bottom of the buildings, not the curve. Can this be proved? Yes, it can. In this video, from an elevation of approximately 30 feet, at high tide, I look across at Barrow in Furness on what I would call a nice sunny day with almost no wind. Nothing flat earth proof here, my elevation negates any claims of this, as what we see, we should essentially see in any model you pick. But pay attention to the height of the water as we pan across to Devonshire Dock Hall. At high tide, on a calm day, we can see that the tide pushes against the sand dune in this location right here. So now we have a baseline at high tide with an elevation of 30 feet above actual sea level. I took my P1000 out for its first trip to Anchor's home, and the weather was typical for this location. Poor. In fact, it's like this almost 90% of the time. No wonder, when we see the footage, the globe has been able to hoodwink people for generations. Well, on my first shoot with it, I filmed this scene. The buildings of Barrow had an inferior mirage, and I couldn't make out the lower part of the buildings or the sand dune. In fact, if the curve model was to be believed, I was seeing the curve at the mirror line. But something occurred to me. You see, this was the same spot I filmed the previous video. And today, I was also higher above actual sea level, as the tide was between low and mid as seen here. So if the tide was lower, and I was higher above sea level, how on earth could the mirror line be where the curve is? How could this be the curve of the Earth if this is where high tide is? Again, this is the same location on different days. I'm not asking you to say this supports this model or that model. What I'm asking is that you look at the evidence of the inferior mirage and ask, is the Earth curve producing it or the atmosphere? In my opinion, the evidence speaks for itself. In my opinion, the atmosphere is creating the blockage by means of the inferior mirage. The mirror image we see is hiding everything and anything below it. The same as the boat and the dog in my earlier video. If you look through some of my videos, you will see how this optical effect is prevalent in many observations, which Globers claim matches the 8" per mile squared curvature calculator. They will tell you any blockage is curvature. Well, in the case of inferior mirages, I think we are seeing that this is most certainly not the case. As the blue pill, along with the blue marble, is becoming less palatable day by day, it really is only a matter of time before you open your eyes, grab a hold of that red pill, and open your mind to a whole new reality. Welcome to Flat Earth.